Hello friends, Matt D'Antuono here. I want to discuss a question that's come up at times and I saw recently as a comment on one of my other videos. And the question is this: can science tell us what is right and wrong? And in a particular video I had argued that even science can't tell us, for example, something like that murder is wrong. And someone was trying to argue, and other people have as well, it's not the first time, that if we could take a lot of polls and maybe conduct some anthropological studies, that the social sciences can tell us what is right and wrong. So here I think it's important then to really look at science, physical science like chemistry, physics, the life sciences like biology, and even the social sciences like anthropology, psychology, sociology, and see what is it that they tell us. The sciences, these sciences, what they tell us is about what is. They describe things. And psychology describes patterns of behavior and of thought. Sociology describes patterns of groups of people. And all they can really tell us is what people think is right and wrong. But that doesn't determine that those things are right or wrong. Some anthropological historical study might reveal that people of a certain time thought that slavery was okay, and that was the majority of people who thought that way, or that human sacrifice was actually a good thing and it was benefiting them as a society, so it was the right thing to do. But no amount of majority opinion can tell us that something is right or wrong. Even if the entire world believes that murder is wrong, that doesn't make it right or wrong. And this relates to something that the British philosopher David Hume discussed, and he called it the Isaught Problem. When we're dealing with statements about what is, those are totally different types of statements from statements about what ought to be done. Descriptive sciences, as the social sciences, the life sciences, and the physical sciences are, they tell us about things, they describe things, but they are not prescriptive sciences. That's a different thing. That's the realm of ethics. And those are different types of statements. Those are different types of thoughts, and they're different endeavors of thought. And you can never have enough of the is to get to an ought. We can conduct as many studies as we want, run as many experiments as we want, but we will still only end up with is statements. We'll never get an ought statement. Now, it's worth pointing out here that David Hume saw that as a problem, that therefore we can't know any ought statements. We can only deal in the world of is. But he seemed to be missing, or either ignoring or didn't know about, the thought of St. Thomas Aquinas, who had dealt with this way back in the Middle Ages. Thomas Aquinas knew very well, and he was very logical about the different sciences and what the divisions were among the sciences. Here's the basic idea. Different sciences, different systems of thought, have different beginning principles. For example, if you took geometry in high school, Euclidean geometry, you probably learned some postulates at the beginning of the course. And if you have those postulates as they are, then you get Euclidean geometry. But if you change the postulates, if you change the beginning statements, then you end up with a different kind of geometry. Well, it's that way with the sciences. As long as we have certain types of beginning statements, we have social sciences or we have experimental physical sciences. In order to get practical sciences then, there have to be practical starting points. One example of a starting point of a first principle would be something like the laws of logic. And the laws of logic are the fundamental principle of, or one of the fundamental principles of all rational thought in any science. When we're dealing with practical science, the science about what ought to be done, then we have to have practical principles. And Thomas Aquinas realized that. And what looked like a problem to David Hume was actually the beginning of a new science for Thomas Aquinas. And he said that the first principle of practical science is that we do what seems good. We seek the good. Every action that we make, since practical sciences talk about actions, every action that we take or that we make is ordered towards some perceived good. Beings that make actions only do so because they think or they perceive that there's some good in that action. That also then brings up the point that we should really find out what is the good. What is the ultimate good for us? Because that then can direct all of our actions. Otherwise, we're just based on what we perceive, which may or may not be accurate. And that question about what is the good is a great question, and another one that's worth asking. So in conclusion, ultimately, no science, whether it's a social science, a life science, or a physical science, can tell us about what's right or wrong, because right and wrong deals with a practical science. It deals with ought statements. All those other sciences only tell us about what is, and you can't go from an is to an ought, because that's a different kind of statement. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, check out my books, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and I'll see you soon. God bless.